So another episode of All American Adventures.
Yeah.
So today I want you to help me look up the history of this guy named Bill Sketoe. Bill Sketoe. There's a bridge named after him, and apparently he was hanged in Dale County during the Civil War. See if you can pull that up. Bill Sketoe Historical Marker, Dale County, Alabama.
Sketoe.
Huh?
Bill Sketoe.
There you go. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yay! Alright, I knew I had something wrong.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Thank
Bill
you.
Sketoe. Yeah.
Bill Sketoe.
Mm-hmm.
So tell, you know, read over that, see what we got.
So near the site on December 3rd, 1864, Bill Sketoe, a Methodist minister, was hanged by Newton Home Guards who thought that he was a traitor to the Confederacy. In truth, Mr. Sketoe had served 3 years in the Confederate Army, had come home on leave to see his sick wife. The Home Guard hanged him from an oak tree near the old bridge. To keep his feet from touching the ground, a hole was dug under them. This mysterious hole remained clean for many years after that sad day. The site is now part of a flood prevention area. The original bronze marker was badly damaged and washed down the river by a flood in 1990.
Can you imagine being I guess a minister and going off to war, your wife's sick, you come home, and the next thing you know, you're labeled a traitor? I don't guess they had any Red Cross messages back then that they used to send to the troops. You know.
It says William Bill Sketoe Sr., born June 8, 1818, died December 3rd, 1864, was a Methodist minister from the South Alabama town of Newton, whose lynching war on December 3rd, 1864, gave birth to one of Alabama's best-known ghost stories.
What? A ghost story?
Yeah. While locally told stories of his life usually say that he was hanged on trumped-up charges of desertion from the Confederate Army, other sources say that he was killed for allegedly aiding pro-Union renegades in the area. Whatever the reason for his murder, a shallow hole dug beneath Sketoe's feet during the hanging to accommodate his large frame ultimately led to stories about the hole that won't stay filled. According to witnesses, this hole never disappeared, even after being filled numerous times, retaining its original dimensions for the next 125 years. Sketoe's tale became a staple of Southern folklore and was later immortalized by Alabama author Catherine Tucker Wyndham in her 13th Alabama Ghosts in Jeffrey. His hanging site remained a local tourist attraction for decades and continues to attract visitors, even though the hole itself recently disappeared due to flooding in the area. Today, the site of Sketoe's lynching lies beneath the Alabama Highway 134 bridge over the Choctawhatchee River.
Choctawhatchee River.
And a monument to Sketoe had been erected nearby.
Cool. So let's go see that today.
Yeah.
Go check that out. I remember that story from when I was a kid in school. We read that book in one of our classes, the 13 Alabama Ghosts. You know, like I was like I think I was in middle school or something. And yeah, I remember that now. So this guy goes off to war, comes back, and somebody said that they thought he was a sympathizer.
Yeah, they said they were sympathizers to the Union, so they were very much against him. It says right here, according to the legend, Sketoe was waylaid on the afternoon of December 3rd, 1864, as he crossed the wooden bridge over the Choctawhatchee River, north of Newton. Breyer and his men dragged the preacher into the nearby woods, beating him and forcing him to crawl through the sand while they prepared to kill him. Sketoe was next hauled to a waiting buggy, and a rope was thrown over the post oak limb and put around his neck. A friend of Sketoe's happened by the scene, and at this time, unable to dissuade the whole guard from their intended course, he ran to Newton for help. Anxious to get
moments, he began to pray for those that were going to kill him.
Yeah.
And the lynchers got so infuriated by it, they, you know, made the horse run off and pull the rope up and snatch his neck and kill him, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But meanwhile, his friend was running back to the town to get help.
Yeah. Yeah. This is even worse. In their haste to carry out Sketoe's summary execution, Breyer and his men failed to take their victim's size into account. Sketoe was tall and his weight bent the limb over to the point that his feet touched the ground.
So we were talking about Bill Sketoe and the Newton Home Guard. And right at the end, you said that you had some more information on this guy that supposedly lynched Sketoe. He showed up somewhere else. He was part of the Battle of
Newton.
Yeah. He was also part of another. What was he? Fought at Gettysburg or something?
Yeah, he was wounded in Gettysburg. Let me try to find that again real quick.
So this is the guy that supposedly hanged Sketoe.
Yeah.
I never know if the right word is hanged or hung.
Hung, yeah. I'm not sure.
Is it hanged?
I think it's hung. I'm not. Don't quote me.
We know that lynched definitely would be a word.
Yeah.
But this guy Sketoe was a minister, a Methodist minister. He came home from the war to visit his sick wife, and he was hanged supposedly for being a sympathizer with the Union Army. You know, you always wonder how much truth there is to any of that, you know, because look, all of it could be true, right?
Yeah.
All of it. He could have
or
gone,
absolutely none of it could be true.
Well, yeah, you're right.
You know, I know what I'm saying, like, you know,
yeah.
it's so hard to tell, and really, honestly, he very much well could have said, I just don't want to go back to war, and they're thinking, oh, well, he's a sympathizer,
right?
You know, I mean, anything could have set them off back in the day. They were very prideful, very, very prideful, and the least amount of disrespect would set them off in a heartbeat.
Yeah. How do you reconcile that with the guy being a minister? You know, do you think he had a church? Do you think
I would think
he
so.
had so he'd been away from there for 3 years, supposedly fighting in the war. So it's not like he came back to, you know, church members just waiting for him to show back up in the pulpit again. I mean, somebody else was ministering to those people in some way.
Absolutely. And it, you know, it could have been anybody. Could have been anything. It's a cool place.
So let's just think about it just for a second. So he went to the war. He come back. You know, he was. I mean, you can be a soldier and go to war and serve 3 years, and you don't necessarily a hero.
Yeah, no.
I spent 22 years in the Army, and I don't see myself as a hero. I just did what the people above me told me what I had to do. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't charge a machine gun bunker and knock out the communist horde. I just, you know, worked on my truck and made sure my bullets fit my gun properly, and I knew how to do those kinds of things. So he might have done and spent 3 years off in the Civil War and came back home and turned into a sympathizer. He very well may have been a Confederate sympathizer. What was this guy's name that hanged him again?
His name was Joseph Breyer.
Tell me about Breyer.
Newton was also the location of the local Confederate conscription office, staffed at the time by Captain Joseph Breyer.
So he was the head of recruitment. Yeah. He went to Gettysburg, he fought, he was wounded, and he comes back home and he takes over the recruitment office for new folks to join the. So he was ardent believer and supporter of the Confederate cause. Okay.
He was with the 15th Alabama Infantry, was wounded in Gettysburg, and returned home to lead efforts against local draft dodgers and deserters.
Whoa, what now? He returned home to lead the effort against draft dodgers and deserters. So was there a draft? Was there a conscription to the Confederate Army? I never knew one way or another. I never really thought about that. I guess they did the Confederate Army institute some sort of draft? Look that up, Confederate draft. Or see, anyway, we need to look that up at some point. Tell me more about this Bryant guy. Since you got it there in front of Breyer.
That's all that it really states.
Okay.
It doesn't really state anything else about him. It just, it says that he was in the 15th Alabama Infantry, wounded in Gettysburg, and he was kind of there to enforce and I guess punish draft dodgers and deserters, which could have been one of the reasons why he was so adamant about dealing with the minister. He might have thought he might have thought he was a deserter or a draft dodger, and he went after him. And he did his job, I suppose. But then again, he might be wrong.
I wonder what his injuries were from the war. You think he limped around with a cane and pointed to people and said, go do this, go do that?
Yeah.
Wear a big floppy hat?
I don't know. It's possible.
I wonder if, that's something that is kind of interesting to me. All right, we have people in life that do things like work at the Dollar General.
Yeah.
Right? We have people in life that make things, in the factory. Like my grandma, grew up at the pajama factory, and what she would do is sew pajamas, right? But back in the 1860s, what did people do for money? How did they? There wasn't a Dollar General and a cash register, but there was some kind of a general store. There was some kind of currency being passed. So, I just always wonder what these guys' jobs were such that they earned a living for. He doesn't come back from the war. There's not some government check going into his bank account every week because he was a government servant, right?
Yeah. I would think, I guess him being appointed, maybe, but you just signed up. I don't think you did get paid back then.
I don't know. That's something that's just kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
What would cause somebody to join in the army? People don't join the army. Well, there's a certain amount of people that grow up and say, I want to be a soldier. I want to go kill and break things. That's what I want to do in my life. I think that's honorable, and that's what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
But there's a significant percentage of people that want to do that. But I'm going to tell you, most of the people that join the army, they join the army mostly because they've kind of like run out of other options. They're just kind of like, hey, well, you know what? I'll just go join the army and be all I can be, or further my chance of getting a better education. I'll tell you what I see today. Joining the army is an automatic ticket to the middle class. You are taken care of by your government. Yeah, you could sacrifice your body and get killed and maimed and blown up and all the things that come with government service and being in the army. But if you're not in the middle class, if you join the army and make a career out of it, you are the middle class.
Yeah.
You are the epitome of what American middle class looks like.
Yeah. Our
officer corps, they make up a very small percentage of the army, but they make, if you're a starting lieutenant in the army, you're going to start at over $60,000 a year when you start, and that's a professional salary in today's world. You become a non-commissioned officer in the army after, like, say, 3 or 4 years in the army. You're making $45,000, $50,000 a year with medical and dental and a place to live, and the value of that is easily $60,000 or $80,000 a year. You can live off of that. Now, you used to couldn't, but back before all the pay raises that came along, you couldn't. But But nowadays, if you want a ticket to the middle class, you join the military.
Yeah.
And the military will take care of you. But you gotta, you gotta show up on time. You gotta keep your hair cut. You gotta, not beat up those that tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So this Sketoe character comes back from the war, and basically somebody chases him down in the woods.
Yeah. Basically, him and Joseph Breyer and a group chased him down and decided that they decided, that he was a deserter, or he, whatever he did, they decided, and then they hung him.
I'll be dang. Let me make this call.
So, Newton, Alabama.
Yeah.
Newton is located in Dale County. It has a population of about 1,500 people. It was once the county seat of Dale County. Newton lost this distinction to nearby Ozark in 1870, and it's now a small farming community. It was incorporated in 1887. The city currently forms a part of the Ozark micropolitan area. Micropolitan.
That's interesting. I've never heard that term before.
So Ozark has grown from where it was into Newton now, so it's really two places, but it's
I got you.
It's founded in 1843 after the formation of Coffee County from Dale County's western half. So Dale County used to be larger, and Coffee County split off, which rendered the original county seat of Daleville off-center. The town was a scene for Confederate recruiting during the Civil War, and was the site of a battle in March 1865 we talked about, between local Home Guard troops and elements of the 1st Florida Cavalry operating out of Florida. Let's see.
It's wild to think. I never really considered it before, but it's wild to think that the Wiregrass area had Union sympathizers and troops that were centered and formed from counties and cities south of us.
Yeah.
And obviously from the north. So the Wiregrass area, being where it was, actually had Union Army that it had to worry about from the south to come in and invade, which is, I guess, what kind of happened, right?
So Newton and Dale County used to be really big, actually. In 1869, March of 1869, a fire destroyed the courthouse, and it forced Geneva County to split off of Dale County.
Oh wow! So a fire caused them to. I wonder who started that.
There's no telling. The Southern Star, one of the oldest newspapers in the Wiregrass area, was first published in Newton in 1867.
Okay.
It later relocated to Ozark, where it continues to be published today.
Really?
Yep. Newton remained a port for the riverboats on the nearby Chattahoochee River until the railroad arrived in 1890 at Baptist College Gate. Institute operated the city from 1898 to 1929. Its main building now houses the city's public library.
Cool. We'll ride through Newton today on their way to, because the bridge, the Bill Sketoe Bridge, is just right outside of Newton, between Newton and Ozark, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on Highway 134. That's a very prominent road that goes through Dale County. It's actually the road that my parents live on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that road goes through Headland, and then through Midland City, and then through Pinkard, and into Newton, and then into Ozark. And so it's it's an old road and trade route.
Yeah.
And I grew up as a kid and never realized that I crossed the Bill Sketoe Bridge all the time, going hunting with my dad, or going up to Fort Rucker with my dad. That's where he worked. But never once did I realize it was the Bill Sketoe Bridge, you know.
The ghost of Bill Sketoe.
Yeah, I never saw a ghost. Not that I know of, you know.
Yeah.
So Newton at one time was a prominent city in the area back during the Civil War.
Yeah, it was the city seat, and that's where they did a lot of, they had a head of
recruitment for the Confederate.
Mm-hmm.
And not far away, they had a head of recruitment for the Union Army down in Florida,
mm-hmm.
right? Didn't we read Campbellton? So we got Union soldiers being recruited in Campbellton, Florida, and Confederate soldiers being recruited in Newton, Alabama. And as the crow flies, those places aren't that far apart.
No, not at all.
We'll try to find that on the map and show that. All-American, this is Will. Can I help you? So this is some kind of park. I'm hoping the sign's down here. I don't know for sure. Looks like that might be it over there, maybe. Maybe this is it right here.
Yeah. Looks like it.
Yeah, I think that's the sign right over there we looked at. Bathroom or something over here. Look, there's the old bridge.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Oh, wow. Cool.
Wow, so that very well could have been really close to the spot where the old bridge was. I mean, I'm sure this isn't the old bridge. This has got to be...
This is probably the bridge they built after.
Yeah, this has got to be the new old bridge. I'm gonna fly down here if you want to come down.
Hello, I'm Chris Christopherson. On November 8th, 1965, the 173rd Airborne Brigade on Operation Hump, War Zone D in Vietnam, were ambushed by over 1,200 VC. 48 American soldiers lost their lives that day. Severely wounded and risking his own life, Lawrence Joel, a medic, was the first living black man since the Spanish-American War to receive the United States Medal of Honor for saving so many lives in the midst of battle that day. Our friend Niles Harris, retired 25 years United States Army, the guy who gave Big Kenny his top hat, was one of the wounded who lived. This song is his story. Caught in the action of kill or be killed, greater love hath no man than to lay down his life for a friend.
said goodbye to his mama as he left South Dakota to fight for the red, white, and blue. He was 19 and green with a new M16, just doing what he had to do. He was dropped in the jungle where the choppers would rumble with the smell of napalm in the air. Then the sergeant said, look up ahead. Like a dark evil cloud, 1,200 came down on him and 29 more. They fought for their lives, but most of them died in the 173rd Airborne. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky, 1965, the 8th of November. Now he's 58 and his ponytail's gray, but the battle's still blazing in his head. He limps when he walks, but he's strong when he talks about the shrapnel that left in his leg. He puts on a gray suit over his airborne tattoo, and he ties it on one time a year, and remembers the fallen as he orders a tall one and swallows it down with his tears. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky, 1965, the 8th of November. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky, 1965. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky, 1965, the 8th of November.
Okay, we're here at the site of the hanging of Bill Sketoe. Notice the spelling here was different than what we were looking at earlier, I think, anyway, what we looked up. Near this site on December 3rd, 1864, Bill Sketoe, a Methodist minister, was hanged by Newton Home Guards who thought he was a traitor to the Confederacy. In truth, Mr. Sketoe had served 3 years in the Confederate Army and come home on leave to see his sick wife. The Home Guard hanged him from an oak tree near the old bridge. To keep his feet from touching the ground, a hole was dug under them. This mysterious hole remained clean for many years after that sad day. The site is now part of the flood prevention area. The original bronze mark was badly damaged and washed down the river by the flood of 1990. It may be seen in the museum, the Newton Museum. This was put up by the Newton Historical Society. Maybe this is...
One of Breyer's men dug a hole beneath the minister's feet, which allowed Sketoe to strangle to death before his friends could return. Sketoe was buried nearby Mount Carmel Cemetery. His headstone reads, "Gone but not forgotten."
Long enough for them to get a shovel and dig a hole.
Yeah.
And that's the hole that they're talking about that remains for so many years. Wow. Wow. You're about to kill me, so let me pray for you because you're obviously confused about what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's what the Methodist minister prayed as they're lynching him.
Yeah. It says, according to local histories, every member of Sketoe's lynching party died unnaturally, including Breyer, who was struck by a limb from a post oak tree the same time from which Sketoe had been hanged.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Say that again now? At the same time he was being hanged, the guy got... Okay.
Not at the same time, but they all died unnaturally.
And one of the guys,
the main guy, Breyer, got hit with the post oak limb, fell on top of him and killed him.
No way.
That's what it says.
No way.
How exactly?
No way. Come on, well, Wikipedia is 100% true. We know that.
People can't edit that.
We know that, but
people can't edit